The pandemic has been a political boon for all state premiers. Anastasia Palaszczuk, Dan Andrews, Mark McGowan, Stephen Marshall. They are all safe, bar one, Gladys Berejiklian, the Premier of New South Wales, who is now subject to leadership speculation. There are two parties that they mentioned the other day who are looking to potentially make a challenge at some point if she falters further in the polls, and those are a combined ticket of Stuart Ayres and David Elliott, the Police Minister. But seven are saying that the front-runner remains Treasurer Dominique Perrottet. Gladys has so spectacularly muffed up the pandemic, and ICAC is yet bearing down on her, a resources-starved ICAC. That's no accident. So some people are saying it's just a matter of time, unless she can reverse the fortunes of the people of New South Wales now and get the pandemic numbers under control. She's been enormously popular in New South Wales. She's an incredible communicator, Gladys Berejiklian. She has the uncanny ability to contradict herself with absolute conviction, to spin nonsense day in, day out with such dogmatic authenticity that even she appears at the point of delivery to believe what she's saying. Somebody will have to take responsibility for this mess in the end, though, and it's very unlikely to be the backroom boys who counsel her, who provide her instructions, and those are chiefly Michael Photios, who's a lobbyist, very connected to big business, and Don Harwin, who's the numbers man. These are her factional power brokers, and these are the people that probably have more influence on Gladys than any others in terms of her approach to the pandemic. And most people would not even know who they are. This is the way that politics works. It's clear from the start that she did not follow the health advice. It's clear that she is now in electoral trouble. And the funniest thing has been happening. While the pandemic numbers have been going through the roof, the coverage of Perrottet has been very negative. The Treasurer has been embroiled in a scandal to do with a fund called the New Generations Fund. And essentially, it's a huge and to date financially very successful fund, which was supposed to pay down debt and manage the state's finances. But they couldn't help themselves. Asset prices on the share market are sky high, bond market sky high. These are asset bubbles, and this fund is heavily invested, using debt to fuel its returns. It's not paying down debt, and when the $20 billion comes from the sale, from the privatisation of the next tranche of WestConnect, the biggest toll road project ever in the state, that's expected to go straight to the New Generations Fund to play with on the share market. And it's not just the share market they're punting. They are punting also junk bonds, corporate bonds, which are highly risky. They're punting other funds, funds of funds. This is a true hedge fund, and they are making huge commissions. This is the problem. The people behind the fund, New South Wales Treasury Corp, very capable managers, but of course, their returns are gigantic. The more money they make, the more money they get paid, the better Perrottet looks. Now, behind this, the theory is that returns in all the markets are so low that they have to enhance them by betting on the share market, where you, at least in a bank stock, you might be able to get a 3% return rather than 0.3%. This is the theory. And in theory, this is right. But none of this money has been going towards lowering the state's risk. The state's risk is higher now because it is so susceptible to a large drop in the financial markets. So when you have an investment fund and you use debt or leverage to gear it up, it supercharges returns on the way up. It also magnifies losses on the way down. So the scandal hasn't yet happened. Usually the financial press comes in and bayonets the dead. But at the moment, they're labelling it a scandal, and this scandal is spilling into other media, into the Murdoch media as well. The interesting thing is, this fund's been going since 2018, but just in recent times, the AFR have picked it up and said it's now a scandal. Perrottet has even been dubbed the Wolf of Wall Street for all this betting that's going on financial markets. Now, the guys writing this at the Fin Review, people like Chris Joy and John Kehoe, do know what they're talking about. This is not fluff. This is really good journalism. But it is very rare that the financial press discovers a scandal, as they're calling it, before the scandal actually happens. And scandals generally happen when a lot of money is lost. But right at the moment, you do have to wonder, looking at this, if Gladys Berejiklian's main rival is subject to a pile-on because the leadership speculation is growing. So meanwhile, it will all come down in the next few weeks to Gladys's management of the pandemic. She has always claimed that she has followed the health advice about restricting people's mobility, etc.
Oh, well, what I do is follow the health advice.
And health has been saying ad nauseum from day one, anything to reduce mobility helps.
But has she followed the health advice? Now, we put in a Freedom of Information request 5 or 6 weeks ago to find out what the health advice was. We've done 2 videos on this now. The rest of the media appears to have caught up and they're saying, what was it? What did Kerry Chant tell you?
How many cases a day is it going to take?
Look, we rely on the advice of our health experts, but what concerns us... Can you just let me finish the answer, please? Doing the wrong thing.
There's 8 million people in this state. Of course, 400 people are going to be doing the wrong thing. You have to have the right health orders and the right lockdown in place.
We're still waiting to hear what the actual health advice was. That may be critical in determining the fate of the New South Wales Premier. Everybody is dead meat in politics, of course. It's just a matter of time before somebody puts you to the sword. Very few people go out as winners, and Gladys now is unlikely to be one of these winners.
No, I'm okay with however way it ends. I think the more important thing is what you do whilst you're here. So that's what kind of motivates me. I don't think too much about the ending. Fairy tales are good, but you know, it's not going to be a fairy tale.